So we still have a couple of horses racing tonight, but I wanted to talk to you about this afternoon's racing. Dune was second. I saw that. Looks like Donnie ended up first over with her, and then that other filly came and scooped him from behind again. The I don't know her name. Lady Victoria, is that her name? I'm not sure. Anyway, the filly that beat her the first week that we beat at the wire, the second week beat us again today. So, bit of a grudge match going on this summer in Michigan with Dune. She's racing well. What else do we have? I was in Oak Grove today. I'll tell you one thing. When you don't have, and this goes to confidence in all sports, I guess maybe even all walks of life, but when you don't have a couple of days, good days going in, like I was very displeased with the way I drove last night in general. And that's coming off a night where we didn't have any luck. I didn't feel that I drove any of the horses overly bad, but certainly not very fruitful, if you will. So coming into a 48 hours where, let's just say I wasn't productive, and then you're going behind the gate with a horse that's 1-5. In a stake race, she's supposed to win. There are some jitters. I often wonder, I know how Scotty and James talk to me about the races, and Scotty had mentioned the pressure that I put on sometimes. And not that I mean to. I guess just the pressure they feel for the pressure they feel driving the horses because they want to do good, right? These are our horses, and we're friends. Or James, my brother. So there is an added level, I guess, of pressure there. And I feel that sometimes. And it's only compounded when you're coming off a couple of flat days. So I'm going behind the gate. I feel fine. I felt I was a little bit further back from the gate than I wanted to. And what I didn't want to do was relax, there's a spaceship, was ask Jailbird Jog to catch the gate. I wanted to bring her up into position, take a look right, let her float off the car. Now she's learning. Because I did put her in good gear a little bit to come up into position, and then I cinched her just a little bit just to see what she'd do. Coming off the car, and she just went to sleep, nice and neat. Going into the first turn, everybody was kind of jostling around, and we got jammed up. And again, they had said, well, it looks like Jailbird Jog moved herself. She kind of did. She's like, come on, really? Like, I don't think we need to be doubled up right here. Especially when Dexter's horse was a player. They're all players, but we were the overwhelming favorite. And I said, what do I want to do? I want to sit back here, A, let them get a slow half and see if they can beat me, or B, get her doubled up and put her on the run. No, that's not going to happen. I just let her float over to the front. And it's funny because when you watch a replay, you see Dave Miller's filly, and she was really trotting down the backstretch. But at no point was I overly concerned, right? And Jailbird Jog could hear her coming, too. She heard her coming. You feel her kind of jump forward, and just easy, girl. We got a turn coming. He isn't going to go by us in the turn. I'll start you up coming out of the turn, and then we'll see how it looks halfway down the lane. I had her shut down halfway down the lane. One of your partners, Randy, messaged me and said, how was she? I knew what he meant. How good was she? I didn't even ask her to go out of third gear very long. Maybe just to make sure we cleared off the lead. Maybe coming out of the last turn just for 8 pylons. And then I just let her coast through the wire. Now, again, this is a filly that the whole point was this week wasn't super important. And Eric said, well, she's off 2 weeks. What do you want to do? Normally, she would be in the race bike 5 days ago. Just go easy. Just train her a mile and a half a couple of times, nice and easy. Don't spark her up. Just stretch her out a little bit, but not much. So she's coming into the race a tiny bit short. What I would consider short. But she was exceptionally good today. Again, as expected, 55-4 was a very, very good mile for that filly today. Vern's filly looked good too. The one that beat Degas, Scotty had said, why'd you time the gate with that filly? I said, I wanted to leave, but, again, I went back to when I raced the Captain Corey filly the other day, and she saw the person in the gate, number 5, right behind the gate. The horses will see them sometimes, right? They'll see the weirdest things sometimes. So I didn't want to put her nose right up in the screen and have her stutter and either make a break or stutter step and get away 7th. So I just let her come up into position as they went away. Now, her nose was on the screen. We were going slow, but I just gave myself a little buffer just so I could decide whether, if Scotty was leaving hard and the 3 was leaving hard and everybody was leaving from the outside and Yannick was coming out of there, well, if 5 of them, if there's a cavalry charge coming off the car, the way she raced last week, I don't have to be on the front. The last thing I want to do is get away to the front, let 2 go, and end up third going to the 3/8. So I know that Scotty likes his filly, so I make sure I cross over in front of him. I make Andy get in the 2-hole. Now, I didn't see what was happening in behind me. And then I let, I know that Scotty's coming. I let him clear to the front, and Degas raced as good as she could. Now, those hobbles can go out again. It can almost come off one of these days, I think. In Lexington, don't be surprised if you see a race without them one day. And the flip-flops, for sure. Like, you guys have no idea. That track is very deep. Very, very deep. And every one of those horses wore flip-flops today. Now, before you say, well, that's why Zena run. Yeah, not really. They gave Andy an IX. Or they gave Zena an IX and blamed Andy. But I think there was a little bit, like Andy was going in the hole and Dexter was going to try and go up and through there maybe. But with, and he said to me, he goes, my fault after I grabbed her and she threw her head. And I said, well, she has a snake cord in her mouth. He goes, can we take it off? I said, sure we could. I kind of like her with it on, to be honest. But I told him, I said, it's just one of those situations where somebody's dangling something too good to be true in front of your face. There's the 3-hole, too good to be true. Andy's kind of creeping down into it. At that point, you have to make a decision. You grab a hold and let him go down easy and play it safe, or do you push through? And I think Dexter was in the transition of, I'm just going to let Andy in. I don't want to put her in a bad spot. But he'd already put her in a bad spot. I said to Amy, I'm hard on myself, and we have bad nights like that. It really shakes me sometimes, right? You have to be able to turn the page, but that's easier said than done. I felt way less stressed driving Degas because she's handy and expectations were a tiny bit lower than I did driving Jailbird Jog, knowing all the partners were watching this filly race. And we all think she's this good. And for me to make a mistake, imagine if I put Jailbird Jog on the run after the weekend I've had. Oh my God, I can assure you one thing. There'd be no video on the way home, I can tell you that. And I said to Amy, that's how tough the game is. Dexter goes, I didn't have a great couple of days. I said, Dexter, I'll take your bad couple of days over a bunch of my really good days anytime. Pretty hard to blame Dexter Dunn. I put her on the run in that position. Yeah, I'd be pretty hard on myself. But again, those stupid little things that happen to everybody, they happen to great drivers too. You can't really blame Dexter for doing the best he could with Zena. And, she looked good. Still trotted in 2 minutes. I didn't realize until after that they gave her an IX. Now, he blamed himself. One of my partners, Chris, had messaged me and said, Andy, caused her to run. I said, I think it was kind of a 50-50 type situation. But they placed Andy 7th placed 8th and Zena 8th placed 7th. So the good thing about that is, although she doesn't get to race likely in the $25,000 consolation, what she does get to do is race in the $16,000 maiden, because that's an IX, and she trotted in 2 minutes. She made qualifying time. It was interfered with. That's a flat line. So I don't know if they write a maiden for next Tuesday. I'll find out. You don't have to look for me. But if they do, then it'll be Jailbird Jog in the final. Likely, I think Greg, our analyst, our statistician, has her tied for 9th right now. Now, if some horses don't enter, 8th or 9th, I think he said 9th. He might have said 8th. If he's 8th, then we're a coin flip away, and you might say, ooh, I hope she gets in the final. I don't know if I want to be in the final. Vernon Beachy's filly looks great. Jailbird Jog is great also. So there's 2 that are going to be tough. Now, anything can happen in a horse race. But between you and me and the lamppost, I would rather have Jailbird Jog in the final, Degas in the consolation, and Zena Kemp in a maiden trot. I'd be okay with that next Monday if we can figure that out. And if we can't, and she has to race on Tuesday, well, we could give that Dunn guy a chance again, I guess. So for my partners in Zena, I'm not taking it lightly. I just, mistakes happen to everybody in this game. So, but Zena was sound. She was good otherwise. He said, obviously, you could see that there was just that jostling at that point in the mile is why she made a break. She was fine otherwise. And that mile in 2 minutes will go a long way for her next start. I don't, if I'm going to be completely honest, Zena's a step behind Jailbird Jog and a step ahead of Degas. And I love Degas. She is as handy as my brother Mark used to say, and he heard it from, I think, Donnie Rankin, a couple of old horsemen. She's as handy as a shirt pocket. You let her trot right out of there. She'll do anything you want. She won from behind with that Lee Bender last week. She's just, if we didn't have Jailbird Jog, I'd be telling you right now how much I like Degas. And yes, Vernon Beachy's filly is great. And yes, this other tactical landing's great, but I really like Degas because I do love handy horses. So he had a second with Dune. Looks like she got beat by her arch nemesis. I think that Dune needs to be in more of a, when you attack with her, that's fine. But if you're attacking the lead and you're dragging, there's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way the draw shook out. But when you're dragging the other horse up into it, makes it tougher, right? Reverse those roles, and I think Dune probably beats the other filly again this week. So it'll be good racing for the rest of the season as we shape up and look forward to a couple of bigger purses and then the final in Michigan. And yes, I told you how much of a layover she should be in Michigan, but as I also tell everybody, the caveat I give everybody all the time when I run my mouth in all these videos is, we don't know how good everybody else's are. Just because we have a Dune doesn't mean somebody else doesn't have one, or maybe even one better. And you just hope that they don't, right? Jailbird Jog looks like probably the favorite going into the final. Not take nothing away from Vern's filly, big strong filly. She may beat her, I don't know. But there's going to be other killers waiting for us in Lexington. You can be sure of that. And I will make this one note to all my partners, to everybody, and especially everybody with Jailbird Jog. It's a long 2025. I'm not looking past the final, but the final in Oak Grove is not going to define this filly. She'll likely be raced a lot the same way she was raced on week 1. I didn't have to move her today because she was warm, and that's what I liked about her. I could have forced her back in the hole, and she would have went back in. She's just a funny filly, right? She just loves to compete. What I liked most about her is when that horse rolled up alongside me in the last turn and she wanted to get at it. I could feel it was just bubbling under the surface. She was content, and she waited until I turned her on. And the second I said, that's enough, she just settled. She didn't walk. She didn't let that other horse get past her. I knew he was never going to get by me. But she just let him saunter up there, just as cool as a cucumber. She's a cool customer, this filly. I think she's going to turn into a really, really, really good filly. Plus, she already is a good filly. So back on the side of optimism, we left the other side of the fence behind. This is a new day. It's now Monday, July the 7th. We were first and third in the stake race. We were interfered with and got a clean line with Zena. She can race in the maiden on closing week for almost what they're going to go for in the consolation. So relax. 25 and 16. Dune race good again. And we still got a couple of horses tonight to cheer on. So I am going to let you go. I'm almost to the airport now. My flight doesn't leave for a half an hour longer than it was. So you know what? The reason I stopped and ate McDonald's, I don't like airports that don't have good food. And maybe, and Steve and I talk about this all the time, everybody says, everybody wants direct flights. I don't mind layovers. I want them to be like 2 hours. Enough time for me to sit down, have a meal, collect my thoughts, and carry on. I don't like that the good meal part. So I'm going to give the Nashville airport food-wise about a C. But they do have a couple of Starbucks, so maybe I'll just get a drink, sit down, and continue collecting my thoughts. So for you, collect your thoughts. I hope you had a great day. I hope you were part of what took place today in Oak Grove. It was a good day again. Now I have to see when my flights are available and see if I can talk the race office into maybe accommodating us next week. There's 3 airports all within an hour and a half from Cooperstown. Thanks to Lonnie and his friends, they said that they would pick me up from the Albany airport and drive me to Cooperstown. Now, The only problem I have is I think when I looked the first time, the Albany flights were not as accommodating. So we'll see. That's one thing I am going to do when I get to the airport. Look ahead 7 days. Something I don't always do, but something I'm going to do tonight. So it was a good day here in the state of Kentucky, a good day in the state of Michigan. Hopefully, it's going to be a good night in Ontario. Good luck to everybody. I will talk to you all very soon. Thank you.